Chief Executive Officer of Export Barbados BIDC, and Mr. Christian Payne, the Chief Executive Officer of Infogen Technologies. Very good. So, we're here to talk about a very exciting project, a collaboration which involved all of our entities. So, we're talking about Project Digifish, which at the end of this conversation, I'm hoping you will walk away with some insight into the project, but also the importance of collaboration and blended finance. So I want to jump right in and start with you, Mr. Hill. So the Caribbean is often talked about as being smaller than developing states. However, we're in Barbados right now at Sustainability Week, and we're well aware that several islands in the region have vast ocean spaces. So how should we rethink ourselves as being large ocean economies? And what does that shift in thinking unlock in practical terms regarding innovation, technology, and blended finance?
All right, thanks, Daniel. Where we are right now is really looking at, from an island perspective, how SIDS in general unlock the resources of the economy around three key areas. One, looking at electrons, and how we can drive down the cost of energy and SIDS by leveraging our oceans, so that the oceans deliver for us the lowest costing kilowatt hours possible. Because SIDS have some of the highest energy bills because of where we are, we're importing a lot of fossil fuels. And we believe that our oceans, in particular Barbados, has a big opportunity around two layers of energy opportunities. First and foremost, you're 1 kilometer off, 1 kilometer deep. You have 4 degrees Celsius chill water that already exists there. So for seawater cooling, which then can come back into the island, assist with cold chain, to help keep fruits and vegetables at the appropriate temperatures to help control entropy. So there's massive opportunities there. Then there's also ocean thermal technology as well. So from a practical standpoint, there's electrons and how we can use that to drive down the cost of electrons, and which opens up for us opportunities around data centers as islands. Because they need lots of water, but nothing is saying that the data centers cannot be cooled with seawater. So that is an opportunity for innovation. The second thing is molecules. So whether it be biomass in the form of fish, seaweeds, or other forms of molecules for pharmaceuticals, we need to explore how the ocean can help with marine molecules, and in terms of immediate availability in our blue economy space, but also supply chains. How does the ocean also help us to reduce the cost of getting molecules that we need, whether it be foods, pharmaceuticals, and to the island at the lowest possible cost? And then finally, all right, around compute, why can't the ocean not be a space for data centers themselves, where we can put data centers in our EZ, link back to satellites, and provide that type of global system. So on those three things, the ocean has a lot of big opportunities, and this relationship with taps all three of those along the lines of investment, private sector participation, with tremendous investment opportunities that will bring return for private capital.
Absolutely. So those blended finance collaborations are really those unlocking linchpins for opportunities in our ocean economy. So I want to shift to you, Christian, to talk a bit from a technology standpoint. You were involved in Project Digifish, and we're going to get into that a bit later. But first, I want you to set a bit of context to understand why is now the best time to take advantage of the technologically driven advancements in the Caribbean context.
Okay, good. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. That's a great question, Dario. Firstly, I'll start by saying that it's not a thing we want to do, it's a thing that we must do, because the climate risk is here, it's evident. We've had increasingly hot hurricane seasons year over year. These are things that we need to make use of technology to start digitizing and actually making things cheaper. Now, over the last couple of years, I'm sure that everyone in the room knows that artificial intelligence and LLM and these technologies have vastly reduced the cost of doing digitalization efforts and what's not. It's moved from just being a buzzword within ministries. For instance, in our Fisheries division, we were able to digitize at least 20 years worth of data in a week, right? Making use of these new advanced technologies. Now, in addition to that, because we are actually a small, right, we were able to jump from not having anything digitized to a week later having all 20 years digitized, all accessible, all shareable, all connected to current systems and APIs and what's not, obviously, well. So what we've done is use these innovative technologies to not just go 1 to 3 years in the future, but our overall process is how do we go 20 years in the future? How do we make Barbados the R&D hub and not just a place where you can work with technology?
Thank you, Christian. So we definitely see that technologies allow us as small island developing states to leapfrog in our development agendas, and that's where the advantage of a small size comes in. So we've had a bit of context setting, and I want to shift to you now, Dr. Cox, to bring it practically to Project Digifish. And could you tell us about the lessons learned through the implementation of Project Digifish and how it has impacted the key stakeholders, so the fishers, regulators, investors? What was the experience?
Project Digifish was after my office. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share our story here this afternoon. So Project Digifish, of course, was conceptualized back in 2021 with the objective for it to be led by the fisher folk. Our integration was at the time with the Barbados National Union of Fisher Folk Organizations, and we knew that the first step in introducing vessel monitoring systems would have had a bit of pushback. Persons are very secretive about their fishing locations. They don't necessarily want others to know where they're getting the type of fish. They don't want to feel like they're restricted. On land, we know that our freedom is constantly trapped. And one fisherman told me, I already am trapped on land, you don't want to be trapped on sea. So we started there where persons didn't quite understand the concept. But then when we started to get data coming, and we had all of these wonderful visualizations, the fishing community started to see, how far they were going, where others on different coasts were going to access, for instance, the snapper fishery, which we didn't really have a lot of information in Barbados. A paper done by Sandra Prescott years ago. But to have that evidence base, which now leads into informing things like ongoing spatial planning process that's being led by the Coastal Zone Management Unit. So we started to see all these data insights, and then our waiting list grew and grew. And right now we are across 135 vessels, particularly our longliners, our ice boats, and sports fishing vessels. We did get funding for an additional 125 devices, and we're hoping in the next 6 weeks to have those and to have them installed. So you're saying though that in the Eastern Caribbean, we are leading with the smartest fishing fleet. We've seen the introduction of Starlink systems on our commercial vessels. You guys also are very proactive with your fish sounders, sounders, and other technology to help them to actually, I would say, explore how to fish smarter. Mark spoke towards energy use, and I think the fishing sector, based on some of the is the sector using the most diesel oil. And for one diesel pump, we saw over 1 million liters of diesel, and this was one pump in Bridgetown. We have 2 pumps. So it's just thinking that the just transition, of course, to energy in the space, we talk about it, but we need to have the data evidence base to be able to really inform what type of technologies we want. And when we discuss, we're moving to electric and hybrid engines, and speaking to persons in Canada and other places to then understand our context for about 2 weeks, and the fact that they don't really have the technology yet to support our type of fishing fleet. Digifish showed too that our 44-foot long length vessel was going quite far, 800 miles. So we have recorded where our boat is in the high seas, but above French Guiana. And it raises issues of maritime safety, the fact that our capacity in a small island, we don't have that fleet in the Coast Guard to be able to go save them if, for instance, they get into trouble. And what types of technologies we need to have in place, but even how we align with our sister countries like Suriname and Guyana to make sure they know in case of anything they would be closest Coast Guard to save them. So it went beyond, I would say, our national level. We started to have to think about Caribbean as a whole and CARICOM, because Guyana is not a state, but in terms of CARICOM, being connected and exploring what our maritime security procedures should be for the region. So then looking at integrating the fish landings with the vessel tracks and building out a traceability framework and even calculating catch rate in the effort to see if, of course, effort is increasing over time with the climate crisis and how that's impacting on our catches. For sure, in Barbados, since 2011, at the beginning of the sargassum crisis, we've seen significant reductions in landings for flying fish and dolphin fish. We're very happy to that you use the flying fish as the icon for the sustainability forum, because this really inspires the need for us to look at how innovation could help our sector where we see increasing landings, but we're looking to the fisher folk to explore other opportunities as it relates to value-added products, exporting to the US, even looking at our export potential for the EU. And we have a lot to go there. I was running a little late today because we had an inspection simulation, and it really brought to fore the fact that we have to put a lot of measures in place, not only at our seafood markets, but our seafood businesses as well, if we really want to increase our export potential in places to the EU. So, me, I'm very passionate and have a lot to say, so I'll just leave it here and hand that over to you, Gary.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. So you've given us a really good overview of the progress that we've made on this initiative. That came out of a collaboration between Caribbean and Export Barbados. There was an Ocean Innovation Challenge, which helped us identify those high potential projects. But the demand remains for more innovation, more technology adoption, and technology creation. So on the point of creation, we're back to this again. I wanted you to tell us a bit more about your experience working on Project Digifish from a technology standpoint. And could you speak to how we as a Caribbean ecosystem of innovators could ensure that we're not just users of technology, but also creators and owners of it?
Okay, that's a big question. Okay, so firstly, the experience has been unlike any other. When we first started working, initially, our whole thought process was just data integration. Since then, it has ballooned from just doing a simple database project to combining vessel monitoring systems, being able to ensure that we can bring data from these traceability, being able to bring our data from the landings I was talking about. And these are all making use of a bunch of different interconnected systems. So for instance, our company doesn't build the vessel monitoring system. It's a platform that allows Barbados Fisheries Division as well as our company to be able to have a platform that allows other businesses and other companies, other entrepreneurs to be able to build on top of the existing work. So what that allows, is that each time somebody's coming to the space, if you want to build it, you're not starting from scratch. Just like if you were in the US, if you're in Silicon Valley, you start API libraries, you start with data structures, you start already knowing that someone has been in this space before, building is relatively mature. So the work that we've been doing for the last 15 years has been laying that groundwork, ensuring that when the next set of developers actually come, they're not building from scratch. There's an actual database here, there's APIs, there's digitization, there's interconnected platforms already. You can come and build them and stuff. So the whole process has literally been about how do we ensure that more of this has to come and build on top of this. And as such, it's been very interesting to see that this new project that we're working on is literally integrating every single disparate project into one platform. And then having that platform's already become so interesting that there are people in Ghana, right, that haven't quite seen something like it that want us in definitely showing them how they can begin actually onboarding within the country. So it was really very interesting.
Thank you. So, we've spoken a lot about the opportunities that exist. We've spoken about the work that has been done. But all of these are typically driven by local problems, right? We want to solve local problems. But how can we position these solutions to local problems as solutions for global markets? What are some of those immediate opportunities? We've spoken about data centers, we've spoken about cooling. How can we translate those national solutions into being regional and global solutions?
Thanks, Larry. I think one of the biggest local problems that we need to deploy technology in the ocean around is how we reduce the cost of living and how we get fish protein and fish molecules far cheaper to the Barbadian household. I think that's a core problem right now that we need to fix. That is a problem that's impacting not only households, but it's impacting the economy because the high cost of food, fish in particular, on the island, why is fish so expensive? So we think that the data needs to, some analysis needs to go into why it's so expensive and how we get that cost down. So I'm being very pragmatic, right? It says, how many people in here think that food in Barbados is affordable? Yeah? So I think that's where it has to start because artificial intelligence and all these levels of intelligence and these stack of intelligences and multiple intelligences, if it doesn't make life easier for people, and if it's not a covenantal relationship with each other and the people, all this tech is just noise. So I think the big opportunity is to unlock, make it more affordable so people's metabolic health comes first. And because it's more affordable, people can eat more. It doesn't mean you're going to lose profitability. It just means that people know because they can afford it, they can eat healthier and consume more healthier stuff. So I don't want to throw this big, going to Mars type of goal, but just right. I think all of us got a responsibility to work every day and reduce the cost of living.
Thank you. And I think we can all agree, the room is in alignment with you. We certainly see the business case for impacting people's lives in a way that can then further enhance productivity, enhance our economic gains, and in that same vein, we must balance it with sustainability. It's our sustainability week. So I want to shift back to you, Dr. Goss, to ask about environmental stewardship. How can we ensure that this innovation and commercialization does not come at the expense of the health of our oceans.
I think when we think about ocean and environmental stewardship, people are the center. And if we look at our traditional and local knowledge, it starts there. I remember when I first went out with the jack fishing boat in Silver Sands. Of course, it's a very controversial type of fishing because you're pitching this huge net near to you. And the first thing I was taught is how to make sure that the turtle gets out of the net, how to clear the foul, which means, make sure the net doesn't come against a coral reef, and to minimize the damage that was happening. And sometimes we take for granted that the fishermen themselves, they're so close to the ocean, they're so connected, and they themselves are the initial ecosystem stewards. And understanding that, of course, us as persons in the regulatory agencies, we need to keep track of international regulations and make sure we introduce these measures. But the people themselves have been making sure that the resources have been available to them and future generations. So when we first look at them as essential ecosystem stewards and innovating with technology, using technology because our fisheries division is small and the fisheries divisions in the region are small, we need digital technologies to shore up our human and financial resources to help us to do our work better. And sometimes having data could lead to negative effects. But I think it starts with the people and understanding the use of data insights and power, not only to overuse, but just to minimize the time spent searching, the time spent using a lot of diesel, that we actually have those data insights to be able, for them to fish longer so that the fish isn't on ice for 10 days and bring back a value product. So I think it starts with us, the innovators and the resource users together, knowing what the objective is. Of course, if we build up our habitat model, which I am very happy and excited about, once we have like the 7 years of data and being able to predict, for a particular season where the fish is likely to be, because we have all of this information from catches over time, and the optimal sea surface temperatures, sea surface ice, chlorophylls, where we would find fish. And having that information will be more powerful in terms of us being able to fish smarter, but not to exercise. And I think, of course, it has to start just.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. So we made it to the final question. And it would be remiss of me not to ask for advice. We're closing out now. We understand and we've seen that the model through collaboration with Project Digifish was effective. So what advice do you have for governments, investors, or innovators to take action within the next 12 months to progress our Caribbean blue economy ecosystem? What are the disconnects? What should be solved? And who needs to be at the table involved in it? I want to start with you.
I'd say I'll start with two things. Firstly, we need to, as innovators, essentially start building even when there's no funding. Keep building because you're not building for funding, you're building to solve a real problem for your community. And if it's something that you care about, you have to build even when there's no funding. And then for the governments and the folks in the room who the purse strings, I would say we need to start looking at how we can, not because it's very dangerous thing to say, but also make it a bit easier for more innovative companies to have opportunities that bigger ones do.
Thank you. Dr. Cox.
Invest in us. Invest in, young, positive, productive people. Very first met Christian was in Barbados, and that collaboration led to a group of young people with huge ideas, didn't have the backing as people say, I think we were over 12 months. sarcasm. Sarcasm innovation is mostly young people, and we still have not seen the type of investment to really scale up solutions. We are still, and this is over a decade after the crisis has come, we're still not seeing a large scale sarcasm innovation business. And of course, we know there are other dynamics, the fact that, we didn't know if sarcasm is here to stay or not. And some people hesitant to invest. I think we need to really, see the innovation. Sometimes it might look too conceptual, but to know that there are some persons out there really looking for the backing to be able to turn concept to reality. And sometimes, of course, in the ocean space, the fact too that we still don't know a lot of things about the ocean. We see, for example, we're now exploring that. Sometimes it doesn't seem like an avenue where investment would lead to large profits. I think now we have some evidence base and good track record in some of the projects, especially out of the Caribbean, that people can see case studies that would actually work.
Yeah, my advice is that, also invest in intelligence. Yeah? Intelligence is the future. Industrial intelligence. We're spending a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of resources on startups. And we're not moving to the point where we're scaling up. Yeah? So the stakeholders around the table need to talk a lot more about industry and industrializing, so that the fishing industry, the blue economy, can be part of the industrial goals for development of Barbados. So expanding beyond just the immediate artisan fishing. That's like about artisan fishing. Fishing is go can toss a line. It needs to fish farming, it needs to agriculture, and we have more industrial control. So invest in industrialization, and I want to finish up with that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dawes. So we've had a very good conversation on the project Digifish, but more importantly, I think we've demonstrated the impact collaboration can have. I wanted to mention as well that Digifish has been scaled regionally. Those lessons are being adopted in Grenada as well. And the call is clear for blended financing. The call is clear for scaling up and industrialization. So we look forward to welcoming each of you to answer these calls. Company remains open to collaboration. And thank you all for taking